At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
There's a party each and every year on Christmas Eve, where the fun and cocktail shrimp don't seem to end. Clark and Ralphie taking turns on the TV screen, laughing, singing, yelling with all of our friends. Well, it's Christmas, and everybody's gonna spread the holiday cheer.
Hey, Dylan.
I, to the fucking, love Christmas.
Pitter patter.
Fuck yeah, man.
So I was really excited when you mentioned this because I think I somehow missed this because the Letterkenny release schedule was always weird in that they would drop like 6 episodes a year. But then there'd always be like this random surprise holiday
It's
episode.
always a random holiday episode between the seasons.
And I think I just always missed the memo on the holiday episodes. So then all of a sudden it would be like the new season and I would constantly be skipping the holiday episodes.
Yeah.
Like they would just get lost. So I think that this was the first time I actually watched this episode. And this show's great.
This show's
it's great. This show's really, really great. I was trying to explain it to Barb. Because she's like, I tried to watch the first season and it didn't really hook me. And I was like, the first season is it's kind of like Parks and Rec. Like you gotta kind of push through that first season.
It's also like
to get a vibe of the characters.
The first season is very much an extension of the web series that they had, and you could tell that they were just trying to figure out like, what is this as a show?
Yeah, and I think what I like about Letterkenny is that it's a weird ass show.
Mm-hmm.
And like it could very easily become a cynical show, but it's really one of the most upbeat, like wholesome shows because it's basically just about how much everyone in this town loves each other and will like go to fisticuffs to pretend to protect the other people in their town
while also ripping on one another
constantly.
Like, constantly.
And it's also like one of those hyper progressive shows where it's like It almost falls into that South Park level of comedy where they are so mean and dunk on everything. And because these characters are depicted as like almost like a dumb small town Southern group, you have this one expectation of them. And then the reality is that they are just so like sex positive, queer positive, like welcoming and opening to anybody. But it's also... I mean, South Park is the best thing I can compare it to because it does have that like very smart, dumb dialogue.
Yes, for
like,
sure. That's what sticks out.
It's one of those shows where like but they'll just be like I one of my favorite characters who's not in this episode is the reoccurring Manadite guy that comes in, and it's just like. All he talks about is innocent stuff, but it all sounds so sexual and foul, like every step of the way. And that's like such a South Park sense of humor type thing, but they do it and it's just fucking so sweet and adorable as it's happening.
It is. Like, these characters can say the most raunchy shit, but, like, my heartstrings are still being pulled by every single one of them.
Yeah, like I
adore
wrote
them.
down one line of dialogue that kind of like sums up the entire show, which is our main character Wayne. I think he's talking to a girl he's dating at this point in the show. Is he dating the girl that he tries to give the apron to, or is that just
I don't know. So my history with it is we got to season 4 and then just kind of fell off. Not because it got bad. I just stopped watching. Need to go back and finish it. So I am actually a season behind when this special takes place.
I think he might be dating this girl.
Okay.
I can't remember. But they have this conversation because he gets her an apron that says like, keep away from my grill.
Yeah, get your.
Or why you all up in my
grill? Yep.
Yeah, why you all up in my grill? And she's like, that's really sexist. Do you think that I'm good at cooking? He goes, no. Do you think I'm a woman, so I want to cook all the time? He goes, no, I just think your cooking's fucking fire, and you don't want people bothering you when you're cooking.
You don't like people around you while you're cooking.
Yeah, like, and she's like, I'm sorry, I'm being sensitive. And he goes, it's okay. A lot of people are a little bit sensitive these days. To which she responds, yeah, it's so fucking gay.
Yep.
And it's like, that's like the entire sense of humor of Letterkenny, of like these characters who are beyond progressive, and they're so close to being like, absolutely get it, but also will like say the words you're like, you're not really supposed to say.
Yeah, you're like
that word.
Come on, man.
But like that's part of the humor is
charm.
like you're aware that they know that they're not supposed to say that. Like
Yeah.
more often than not, if it wasn't just the two of them there, another character would almost definitively chime in and be like, you probably Squirrely Dan, be like, you're not supposed to say those words anyway. Like,
and I think that's honestly what made me sad about this Christmas episode. There was a severe lack of Squirrely Dan throughout this episode.
It also it kicks off with the Letterkenny intro, which did become like a little sideshow. Didn't like Letterkenny that much. I was glad that was like a one and done spinoff.
Yeah.
Because we're doing this because Shoresy just dropped, which is like the far superior Letterkenny
100%. Like
spinoff.
We finished the first 3 seasons of Shoresy, which again, they're only 6 episodes apiece, but they fly by so quick, and it's such a good, solid show that's funny and also does like there's definitely parts in every episode that make me tear up a little bit. Like they just genuinely care about one another, and it really is. It feels like this Shoresy was an evolution of Letterkenny. Like
now, I will say that I don't think that any season of Shoresy is as good to me as any season of Letterkenny.
Yeah,
but I think that is just my love of an ensemble.
I get that.
Which like Shoresy is still an ensemble.
Yeah, it's
but
just smaller. Like it's a much more compact ensemble.
Shoresy is. Listen, I'm about to reference one of the worst spinoffs of all time, but Shoresy is similar to Joey in the sense of Joey on Friends is perfect as part of the main group, but you get small doses of them.
Yeah.
But when you get 30 straight minutes of Joey every single week, it's a bit much. Like, you're just like, all right, that's a little too much. I think that Shoresy is beyond impressive that it isn't that, like, that you're not overwhelmed by it. But I personally like Shoresy more as that character that would just show up and talk shit for, like, a minute straight in the middle of a Letterkenny episode and then kind of, like, skate off. And that's, like, I love this, like, to me, the comedy of Shoresy was always this faceless character that just talked mad shit.
But that's what I do like about this show is like, or Shoresy, is because like before that, you didn't know what that show was gonna be because you were like,
had no clue.
Shoresy's just taking a shit every episode, and like says some stuff. And I feel like they lean in on
they
that,
found something magical.
But he has such a good heart. That character is so sweet. The whole bit where he's trying to, I can't remember the character's name, but when he's trying to, he jokes about constantly trying to get laid, but you know that he genuinely loves the reporter character, like the
Yeah,
older
no,
reporter character. That
it's
just,
a really, really fucking good show.
God,
I don't
I
want
love
this to
that
sound like
show.
I think Shoresy's a bad show.
No.
Here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the new season of Shoresy, but I've watched every season of Shoresy when it comes out, and I think it's great, and it's usually like in contention for one of my top 10 shows that I watched that year.
Yeah.
But I don't feel compelled to rewatch any of the seasons of Shoresy the way that, like, even just watching this episode, I was like, oh man, I think I want to rewatch Letterkenny.
Yeah.
I think it's because Letterkenny is also like the perfect show to me in the sense of it has like the slightest arc every season, but more often than not, it's just a bunch of one-off episodes that really like do a great job of making it. It reminds me a little bit of. This is going to sound like this makes sense in my head. Letterkenny, I think, has the same vibes that I get when I watch Schitt's Creek, of it really feels like a fully lived-in town with a bunch of eccentric characters that have their flaws, but you love every single one of them distinctly while you're watching. Like, one of my favorite characters is Pastor Glenn.
Oh,
Pastor
I don't
Glenn
doubt it.
is
He's
so
fucking awesome.
funny.
He does the do, man. The didgeridoo.
He goes, it's not about Christmas, ain't about presents. It's about his presence.
Oh, that was good.
Just like the way that he is, and like the ongoing bit that like he is so clearly gay. Like it's like it's undeniable, but he's the only one that doesn't know.
My two favorite characters are the hockey guys, like the two hockey dudes. I love two hockey dudes.
They're probably my least favorite dudes, which is why I think I love the character Shoresy, is that he just dunks on them constantly.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, when I say I like them, it's not like I'm sitting there going, these are good guys. Like, it's more like I love their character arc of like, we're cool, and then they just constantly get fucking ripped on, and it's hilarious to me. Now, I'm curious, when did you first watch Letterkenny?
Probably the pandemic.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it was a show. It was one of the shows that my friend. So every Saturday during the pandemic,
popping off.
Well, it was, but it was
then.
one of those things where I had my own little bubble that was my friends George and Lauren. I would go to their house every single Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was like me, them, and our friend Crystal and their kids, and we would like show up at like noon.
Yeah.
Play with their kids for like 6 hours. They put the kids to bed, and we'd order like Chinese food or pizza, and just like watch streaming stuff until like 9 or 10 at night, and then I'd go home. And like that's where I watched. They're the ones that showed me stuff like Only Murders in the Building. They were kind of the people showing me all these cool shows. And Letterkenny was one of the ones that they're like, you should watch this. And they showed me the first like 3 or 4 episodes, and then it was kind of a like, I'd go home and watch as much as I could, and then when I'd get there on Saturday, I'd be like, here's where I left off, and we would like. They're also the people that showed me like Bluey. They're like, you gotta watch Bluey. Like, we were finding these like feel good shows to watch in like the worst of times.
Yeah.
And then it was like also we were like watching Ted Lasso on our own time, and then on Saturday be like talking about what happened in that week's episode. Like it's a weird thing to say, but like stuff like Letterkenny weirdly makes me miss 2020.
Yep. That's why I asked you, because I was like, it's weird that we're nostalgic for that time period. Of just like, not nostalgic and like bring it back, but it does make you like, that was a nice time where I was just consuming shit.
I was just watching shit and hanging out with the people that meant the most to me all the
time. Like it just felt good. Now I will say
I was prioritizing.
I
was able to prioritize people that I loved over the daily monotonous bullshit that takes up our time. Like 100%. That's what was
that
cool.
We're back
that was
to dealing with now.
yeah. Now it's harder and harder to spend time with people because you are on that onslaught of like, and especially now like experiencing it as a person in a relationship, where it's like it's not just my schedule that I have to factor in. It's her schedule. It's her kid's schedule. So like it's not as easy as like, hey, I'm not doing anything on Friday. Let me just like text a friend and see if they want to hang out. It's like, well, wait, do the kids have something? Does Barb have something? Like, it's just a little bit more difficult than when you were just like fucking wilding out and just being like, these are the people I want to spend time with, and you found ways to spend time with them every week.
Yeah. Now,
for your own sanity.
I originally like had avoided Letterkenny mainly because of the people who were telling me to watch it. Honestly,
I thought that this was Trailer Park Boys.
Yep,
like
that's exactly where I was going as well. I was like, this is just another Trailer Park Boys, and I can't stand that show. I've heard the dudes are good dudes, but like, and I love that they popped up in the Goon movies, like awesome with their ties to different comedians in the Canada area. But yeah, I can't stand that show, and I really can't stand the people that watch that show. So I was, no offense if you watch that show and you're listening now. I used to have
listen.
not
This
some
just
awesome
in. Dylan
people
fucking
in my life.
hates you.
Yeah.
He doesn't want you to listen to the show
I just don't
anymore.
like the people that were in my life that were also big fans of that show.
Listen, we're big ICP fans, and I don't think
Hell
we're
yeah.
the biggest Juggalo
I'm
fans.
not a big
sometimes.
fan of those, though I am one. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was an extension of Trailer Park Boys. I guess that was because of the Canadian aspect and it being a web series. Like, why did we both think that?
Well, because also, like, not for nothing, if you haven't watched either show, you're just seeing memes of random
that's true,
weird
too.
characters from a show that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, that's also true. They did kind of fall in the same lane.
Introducing Internet Supreme Court,
a new live stream show on Twitch and YouTube Live.
our dishonorable judges and highly partial jury, that's you, join to cast judgment.
Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That's when we convene to debate the fate of memes and the weekly cultural zeitgeist.
From the hottest trends to the dumbest controversies.
Find out more at InternetSupremeCourt.com.
Subscribe to Geekscape TV on Twitch or YouTube to get notified when we're live.
InternetSupremeCourt.com.
Dude, we're 13 minutes into this. Should we talk about the plot, I guess?
Well, I mean, I think the plot can be summarized in like a sentence. It's just that the main crew wants to throw the best Christmas party ever.
Hey Matt,
And
have you been hearing rumblings that this might be the best Christmas party ever? That this might be the best Christmas party ever?
which is like
God, this is
so
fucking
funny.
good.
It's so funny because like you've been to parties at my house, and I'm like, this feels like a lame ass Christmas party. like as I'm watching it, it's like it's so
I
like,
mean, like so as I've
but I love it
further
at the same
delved
time.
into
Yeah,
house parties, I'm like, what do you want? Like we're all just drinking and hanging out. I mean, that's it. That's a good ass Christmas party.
so this episode doesn't have a lot of the like. There are like Letterkenny catchphrases that get stuck in your head. This is not too big on that.
No.
But we do get two big things in the very beginning.
Yes.
And the one is the rapid fire pun dialogue when they're naming all the different Christmas drinks they could have at this party. And the two that I wrote down was Naughty or Spice or Santagria.
Santagria is my favorite.
Before they
Santagria,
land on doing Three Kings. At midnight, they're going to do Three Kings, which I don't know much about this, but it's like an American
whiskey,
and Irish
whiskey, and then Canadian whiskey. And that's a lot. Like that's not gonna even Teddy who loves whiskey, she was like, that's gonna go down harsh.
3 shots in a row.
3 shots in a row of whiskey, of different whiskeys. Yeah, that it's gonna.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
But we also get probably the quickest way to know if you're around a Letterkenny fan is to say 3 words.
Yeah.
To be fair.
To be fair. Oh, so good. To be fair.
To be fair.
Oh my God, it's so good. The callbacks, honestly, the pitter patter. Let's get Advent.
Yeah.
Just tying it back. This show has so much heart.
It's so good. But it's like, this is one of the more difficult episodes I think we've ever had to discuss.
Yeah, because you have to know a little bit about these characters.
You have to know the show. You have to know the characters. And also, like, not for nothing, Letterkenny is not a show. Like, so, like, with Seinfeld and Friends, right? Like, let's look at these shows for a second. Those shows were so plot dense that you would literally name a Friends episode like the one with blank, and it would be like a plot point that everybody, when they hear that plot point, they're like, oh yeah, that's the episode where this happens and this happens and this happens. Or like Seinfeld, it was always the blank, you know, like the parking garage, the Chinese restaurant. And like, just from those 2 to 3 words, you know exactly what episode it is. You remember all the bits and stuff. I don't think Letterkenny's charm isn't plot heavy.
No,
it's like a mood. It's
in
like
the relationships.
It's almost.
It's in the relationships between the people.
But it's almost like I get the same vibe watching Letterkenny that I get listening to like ambient music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you're not there. It's not even like a show where like there are times where you will laugh out loud, but it's not like one of those shows where they're setting up this crazy premise and you're watching it build and then it happens. You just like are happy and smirking at like how witty but sweet everything is for 27 minutes.
I mean, at least half of almost every episode is just our 4 main characters sitting at the barn riffing. Like, that's almost half of every episode is just those 4 talking shit, and it's fantastic.
But that's where it makes it hard for us to like talk about the episode in that sense. Is like, there's no, like, if you haven't watched Letterkenny, listening to us explain beat by beat what each character's doing at this party is not going to convince you to watch it. Like, it's not. No. If anything, it might deter you from watching it. You'll be like, this sounds boring as fuck. Like,
it's like, very dialogue heavy, but it's a fucking great time. I do want to ask, before this episode, I had never seen the coach interact with the main cast. Does the coach like come into interaction with them? Like, the hockey guys have always been the crossover. The hockey guys were the crossover between the main group and then the hockey team and that side of things.
Well, and the coach is insane because
the
at
coach
some
is
point,
absolutely insane.
At some point, he's trying to explain how Home Alone is actually a movie about Harry and Marv's perseverance.
Yes.
Like,
yes. And also how they hate themselves.
Yeah, like, it's like
they're just masochists.
It's really insane, but like, yeah, I don't remember, like, when the coach showed up, it was a real like, who the fuck's this character for me as someone who'd watched all 11 seasons. So I don't think that he's a character that sticks around particularly long.
Well, that's what I thought. Like, I always saw the coach is very heavy in the earlier seasons of just ripping on our hockey guys, like, and that's it. So it was really weird to see him at this party. I think he's the one that stands out as not really having a relationship with
anybody.
Yeah.
Well, and we also get the and I was trying to find a picture of it to send it to you, and I failed. Was the Skids, the characters of the Skids?
I missed the original, like. There was
like 3 or 4 people originally.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 people, and there were like, you had Stuart, who was like their leader, but he had like a second in command that was in like the first season. I really miss him. He was pretty good.
Tessa Markle, who's been a regular guest on our holiday live streams as one of our voice actors, she was Stuart for Halloween one year, and it was like perfect because she has like the right hair length and color, so it was just like she wore the white shirt with the black overalls and the top hat, but she was like, nobody knew who the fuck I was, like, walking around this party.
Okay, so I want to bring something else up that you had talked about earlier about the show being so progressive, and you think that the show is going to go one way and it goes a different way. And I think case in point is when Roald is drunk under the mistletoe next to Stuart.
Yeah.
And he just looks at Stuart and he's like, he says it real drunkenly. He's like, I don't want to mistletoe this opportunity, but Stuart, we're under the mistletoe. And he starts to fall. And like, in any other show about Hicks, I feel like the Stewart character, if you didn't know the Stewart character, would be like, ew, I'm not gonna kiss you. We're two men. But like he literally just like,
I'm not gay. I like women.
Yeah. Rold starts to fall, and Stewart just goes and kisses him, and then goes about his business. I'm like, that's the shit that I like about this show. That is the stuff that I like about this show. It doesn't make like a huge deal about anything. You just have these characters that love one another. They want to fight for one another. Even the characters that don't really get along. Like, Wayne gives presents to these characters that in other episodes you would think that he hates. But he doesn't.
And he probably
doesn't
still
hate them.
he gives
really
everybody a gift.
Yeah,
I do love
because
the gifts that...
Well, it's tradition, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I love that he gives Stewart and Rold, they're like, is it drugs? He's like, it's a drug.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's this? He's like, it's vitamin D. I'm afraid that your pasty skin is making me worried that you might have a deficiency.
Yeah.
Like, they're all like
I think you have a
thoughtful
vitamin
gifts in their own way.
Which is not good. Oh, no, it's a bad one.
Yeah. It's just so late. But ambient is like the exact word I would use to describe it.
It's the same vibe, and you might disagree. It's the same vibe I get from watching a Ted Lasso. Now, I feel like that's very
100%.
Much more plot heavy, but I feel like the same feel-good vibe of if I want to put on a show that's not one of my like OG safe shows, if I want to put on something a little different, I can put on Letterkenny or Ted Lasso, and I'm going to feel good.
Yeah,
I'm going to feel good.
It's great. And that's kind of why I was like, I want to watch this with Barb. I do think it's one of those shows that you kind of got to get through that first season where they're figuring out their footing.
Yeah.
And like seasons 2 and beyond are just so rewarding in how funny and weird they can get.
It also worked a lot better for me once I was able to dismiss my preconceived notions of the show.
That helps too.
Yeah. I mean, the first couple episodes it was more of a hate watch where I was like, well, I'm going to check this out because everybody's watching it, but I'm not going to like it. And then like the first 3 episodes, I was like, no, I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's bad. You're all dumb for liking it.
Yeah. But as you can see, I've turned around on it. I'm definitely, I've gotten the kick back in me. I'm ready to go back to Letterkenny. I still have 3 episodes left of this new season of Shoresy. Highly recommend. It is such a quick watch. 6 episodes. Every episode is like 20 to 27 minutes total. So like you'll fly through it. We were trying to decide on a movie the other night, and we were just like, well, fuck it, let's just watch 3 episodes of Shoresy instead.
Yeah,
so we did that. So.
Shoresy will probably be a me when I'm alone watch.
Yeah.
But I know I can knock it out in like a day or 2. Like,
For sure.
But it's just I had to I'm literally recording a podcast later on today when we're recording.
Yeah.
And it required me to watch 5 YouTube 2-hour-long YouTube videos of different musical movie adaptations.
What?
So that has like consumed my time. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see how this goes. It's for a podcast called Miscellaneous Film Festival.
Don't ever ask me to do something like that.
I know. I watched the 9 to 5 musical. I watched Carrie the musical. I watched Rogers the musical, which is the 40-minute stage show in Disney World.
Yeah.
And I watched Creature from the Black Lagoon the musical, which was like a short-lived Universal Studios show.
I did not know that. I know 9 to 5. And
9 to 5 was really fun.
9 to 5 is great.
Yeah, that's a really great musical.
Awesome. That's a great musical.
The Carrie the musical was like had some shockingly great songs, but terrible scripting.
Yeah, did you watch? What year did you?
It was a 2012 Seattle production.
Okay, I was curious because like it had gone up and then it went down and then I think it faced some rewrites.
Well,
like recently quotes around.
I just got I literally before we hit record, I was listening to there's a 10-part podcast series called Out for Blood, the story of the Carrie musical, where they do like a deep dive into the entire history. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll dedicate 10 hours to that throughout the next like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's an interesting story that I love stories about flops that later have a comeuppance as people actually being like, no, you know what? That didn't suck as much as we thought it did when we watched it.
Weird? Isn't it weird? Because you're not this way. I feel like you get excited when a movie is shorter. We've had that conversation. If a movie is shorter,
do I.
But I feel like you will still make a point to, I'm not sure about this year because you've been busy, but you'll watch all the Best Picture nominees.
Yeah, I watched every Best Picture that was readily available before the Oscars. Which is a bummer because the ones I really wanted to watch weren't The Substance was a $20 rental, which no, that's not gonna happen.
It's on Mubi. You can do a free trial to Mubi if you really want to watch it.
Yeah, I'm dumb enough to forget to unsubscribe to Mubi and then get. So I'm I know that this is this will be on something for free.
Yeah.
In the next year, I will just wait it out.
Back to my point before I forget. Isn't it weird that I'm the opposite? Teddy and I will scroll through a movie, and as soon as I see that it's 2 hours or 2 hours and 30 minutes, I'm like, there ain't no fucking way I'm doing this tonight. It's just not happening. I'll get to it eventually. On the flip side, if I find a 5-hour documentary on YouTube about the history of the Final Fantasy series, I'll watch all 5 hours of that.
Yeah.
Why?
Here's why, right? Listening to a 10-hour audio podcast where I have hour breaks before I have to jump into the next story is much more manageable.
Yeah.
Than I'm just so bad at. I know people are like, oh, I just stop the movie and come back later, and I'm like, that's not an option.
I am not going to remember.
Yeah,
I am not going to remember what was happening.
Yeah, I have to go from front to back unaltered. That's how I need to roll.
That's
so
true too. I guess I'm not remembering all 5 hours of the Final Fantasy documentary.
No.
It is.
Dude,
it
you know how much
background
shit
noise.
I used to. I'd watch 12-hour documentaries about fucking Victorious that I've never seen a second of.
Doesn't that feel weird now?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I've got all this worthless information about Victorious in my head, but that's about it. Cool. You know what, Dylan?
Yeah, Letterkenny.
Pitter patter, man.
I'm gonna end the same way I said it, the same way we started. I, to the fucking, love Christmas.
Oh, whoa, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Happy holly, have a great holly, have a merry happy holiday.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.